William Robert Bradshaw. The story of the Great War. Joseph Stringer hailed from Runcorn. Was a real good man. He was a personal friend of mine from the formation of our section until the time he went into the terrible battle for Guillemont when he was killed. I shall ever treasure the memory of his company from our first meeting at the Tournament Hall, Liverpool. He told me that should he have the luck to be spared to the end of the Great War, it was his intention, in the company of his sister, to make singing his civil occupation. That was in 1915. He passed away in 1916. I have heard since that his death broke his dear mother's heart. I believe it. At the time of the commencement of the Great War in 1914, I was a peaceful inhabitant of the town of Widnes, along with my wife and children. My occupation was that of a printer, and before hostilities commenced, we were quite happy. The war caused a great deal of trouble to many trades, and ours was consequently hard hit as the weeks passed by. It came to pass that we, as workmen, were compelled to accept a system of working less than the usual number of hours per week, which nearly reduced our wages by half. In our town, recruiting was in full swing and striking placards were posted on every hoarding. Without considering any consequence, I made many inquiries in regard to joining the forces, the pay, etc. And I discovered that my wife and children would be financially better off if I would only sacrifice my present job and myself and enlist. Lord Derby was busily engaged raising a brigade of PALs in the city of Liverpool, and I decided to journey to Liverpool and offer myself. It so happened that on my journey I met one of my brothers who, having been informed by me of my intention, immediately answered that I deserved throwing through the window of the guards van, which he was then in charge of, for thinking of taking such an ignorant act. I refused his good advice and continued my journey as decided on. Saturday, November the 7th, 1914 was the day and date when I emerged from Lime Street Station, Liverpool, and, not being acquainted with the city, I inquired from a policeman on duty the way to the Sessions Hall. I informed him that I wished to enlist, and during the time we conversed, he advised me to get off back home again to my wife and kiddies and leave recruiting severely alone. Again, I was foolishly blind and ignorant and made my way to the place of direction. During the period we camped at Prescott, we were marched to Liverpool, where Lord Kitchener inspected the whole brigade as we marched past St George's Hall. We also passed him close in Knowsley Hall Park. Lieutenant Colonel Cobham took over the command of our battalion previous to our departure to Larkhill Camp, which is situated on Salisbury Plain. He completed our training at this camp previous to going overseas. The stone pillars of Stonehenge, showing such a dilapidated appearance, seemed of little interest to the unconcerned British Tommy. We had now been in training for the greater part of 12 months. The enemy were prepared for us, and instantly they swept our line with bullets from machine guns and rifles. We were compelled to drop after only advancing a few yards to save our annihilation. We spotted them in large numbers as they laid in the prone position. Only about 50 yards of grassland divided us, and the experience of exchanging bullets was a most exciting one. Incessant rifle and machine gun firing was the common thing until the enemy decided to scatter down the slope from our view. Received the order to get out, and as we did so, I turned and found the enemy attempting to close in on us. His machine guns blazed away like fury as we retired. I put on speed and caught up with a cluster of men belonging to different regiments. Nobody seemed to be in command now. It seemed every man for himself. We came to a narrow road which cut through the field we were crossing, and here we were met by a brigade major whom I knew well. He was very much excited and commenced shouting these words: "For God's sake, men, don't forget you are fighting for Britain!" He commanded us to get down on the cop side of this field on the edge of this narrow road and face the enemy. We were told to fire our rifles in our turns at the approaching Germans. Surely, every man told off to stay the Hun hordes knew perfectly well that we were meant for a great sacrifice. A great big German coal box bursted close by me, and I ducked low as I heard the pieces buzzing as they dropped around. Our officer was standing close behind me, and a piece of the latter shell got him in the leg just below the knee. After making sure if any sergeants was amongst us, he said, "Take charge of these men, I'm hit." With them remarks, he hobbled across the narrow road and into the opposite field. He became lost to my view. The enemy now had a grand opportunity as we retired to place a bullet through each one of us. Round about the ground I covered, the bullets hissed and dipped into the grass many a time. Looking to my left as I retired, I saw a khaki-clad form lying on the grass on his back. It was my own officer. I rushed to him, got him up best I could, got under him and carried him a short distance on my back. He would lie down again. I got assistance and we moved him further still. My assistant dashed off and left us. Bullets hissed close by us. Officer asked me to take him to a dugout. On strange land I knew of none. Looking back, I saw two of our men arm in arm, one's face a mass of blood in terrible agony. We were shot at close range by a German, the latter on one knee, rifle levelled again, puts up left hand assigned to us. Officer holds up his hand. I drop my rifle. We are immediately surrounded and accosted by the German officer in charge of stormtroops. We are prisoners indeed. When evening arrived of the 25th, this grass plot was covered with stretcher cases, our men lying in rows side by side. There seemed a different cry or groan from nearly every sufferer. They may have laid days on the battlefield before being brought here. The night was bitter cold. Each of our wounded was covered by one blanket. To dwell fully on the cries I heard would be dreadful reading. I will just state that the word mother came from very many throats, and the sounds were nerve-wracking to listeners. I especially walked amongst them at dusk and found many with faces covered. On many occasions in the evenings, we prisoners talked about our respective homes. We wondered when we would be permitted to send a postcard or a letter. On many occasions I had seen Wilhelm, the cook, writing postcards. I decided to ask him for one later, and he readily supplied it. April 5th, 1918. Dearest wife and darlings, I hope and trust that you have not upset yourselves about me, for I am quite well, and I hope you all are very well at home. I was captured making an effort to save my old platoon officer who was lying badly wounded on the field. He was taken as well. I will send my address as soon as I am able. Remember, do not worry at all about me. Be cheerful and make others easy. All love to you and our dear darlings.